we have to find all 6 trig values. For negative 3 pi over 4. So the first thing we have to figure out what angle we're talking about on the unit circle. So instead of going forward on the unit circle, we're going backwards. So what's positive 3 pi over 4? It's what? It's 135. Over 4 means it's going to end in a 5 for sure. If it has a 4 on the bottom, it'll end in a 5. Those are the only ones that end in 5s, the ones that have pi over 4 on the bottom. So that's 120 degrees when it's positive, so we have to go backwards 120 degrees. Do what? I mean 135, yeah, you're right. 135. So we have to go backwards 135 degrees. Sorry. She confused me when she said 120, whichever one said it. 135 degrees. Got to go backwards, which is... So we want to look at 225. Now you're not going to have the circle there for you unless you draw one. I'll give you I'll give you room to work to draw. I'll give you an extra scratch piece of paper if you want, so you can draw a circle. Do what? I can give you a blank circle, but like on the ACT, you'll have scratch paper. You got to draw one out real fast. Yeah, I'm just letting you know. I'll give you a blank one, but it'll probably be one small one like that. That way, I don't waste as much paper. Alright, so I need to look. So the ordered pair for 225 degrees is negative root 2 over 2 and negative root 2 over 2. All 45 degree angles have root 2 over 2 and root 2 over 2. You just have to decide whether they're positive or negative. So then I just got to do the 6 trig values. First one, we'll do cosine first. So the cosine, alright, is what? The cosine's just the x value. It's negative root 2 over 2. It's just the x value. So all you do is look at the first point in the ordered pair, and that's the x value. Alright, then sine is the y value. So you just got to write the y value down. Is anybody confused on either one of those? All you do is look at the ordered pair and write down the x for cosine and the y for sine. No math involved whatsoever. It's just purely knowing the unit circle. Yes? Alright, so then the tangent is y over x. Or now that we know that tangent's sine over cosine, we can just take the sine, put it over cosine, because the sine's y and the cosine's x. Alright? That's negative root 2 over 2 over negative root 2 over 2. Which is what? Positive 1. Does anybody have any questions on the tangent? Alright, now the other three are really easy. All you have to do is flip. And I don't care if you rationalize the denominator or not. Which one goes with cosine? Secant. So I just flip. Cosecant goes with sine. And I just flip. And cotangent, if I flip one, it's still just one. So does anybody have any questions on any of that? Okay. So there's going to be one problem like this on the test where it's going to tell you to use the period as a reference. Is that how it's worded? Or the period as an aid. Don't worry about the period because we haven't really talked about that yet. And all that means is we need to divide 3 into 8. So do 8 divided by 3. It'll go in there twice. All I need is the remainder. That's all I'm worried about. So the remainder is 2. So this is the same thing as saying sine of negative 2 pi over 3. So if it's negative in the problem, it's going to stay negative still. And then the remainder is going to go on top with the pi instead of what we did have. Because 8 pi over 3 is not on the unit circle. And actually 8 pi over 3 is bigger than one time around the unit circle. So this is all we've got to do. So then this so far, some of you stopped here on your homework, I noticed. I mean, you didn't lose credit for what we're doing. Alright? But I need you to keep going. You've got to find the sine of that angle. You don't have to do all 6. So there's only going to be one answer for this. So you have to go back. Since it's negative 2 pi over 3, we've got to go backwards 2 pi over 3. So what's 2 pi over 3 as a positive? Do what? 2 pi over 3 is 120. This time it's 120. Then, so that's 100. That's positive. So we need to go backwards 120 degrees on the unit circle, which is what? 240 degrees. That's the angle we want to look at. So what's the y value at 240 degrees? What is it? The y value at 240 is negative root 3 over 2. So that would be... This is not the answer.
No, I mean the 2.
This is not the answer. This is not the answer. This is not our answer. This is our answer here. I'll put it. This is our answer. Yeah, there you go. That's what I want you to put as your final answer. Right? I need to see. I at least need you to write negative 2 pi over 3 somewhere, so I know that you look. You know, you just didn't glance over and see somebody else write that down. So does anybody have any questions? Okay, so I'm going to do number 8 on your homework because there was a typo on this homework. It should have been negative 4 over 5. And I'll make sure there's not a typo on the test. It should have been negative 4 over 5 on your homework and not positive 4 over 5. Because the cosine can't be positive in quadrant 3. You can put a negative on there. Okay, so first of all, what we need to do is draw a coordinate plane with a triangle. Now, anytime you make the triangle, you're always going to start at the origin. Alright, since we're going to quadrant 3, that's this one right here. We're going to come straight out from the origin and connect it to the x-axis. This is the x-axis. I'm going to connect it there. Alright, so the x-axis is there, and it's going to connect. My right angle's here, and the angle that I'm talking about, theta, is always the angle connected to the x-axis. That doesn't look very good. Theta's always right there, that angle right there. So, cosine, what does cosine equal to? Is adjacent hypotenuse. So the adjacent is equal to -4, and the hypotenuse is equal to 5. So does anybody have any questions about the adjacent being -4, hypotenuse being 5? So the problem will ask you to find all 6 trig functions. Alright, but then we've got to label this circle first. I mean the triangle, sorry. So there's my angle, so the adjacent side is right there. It's -4. The hypotenuse is 5. What's the other side going to be?
3.
Close.
Negative.
-3. So this is the important thing that a lot of you missed on the homework. Alright? If this is the legs of the triangle, does everyone know what I mean when I say legs of the triangle? The legs, so just the other 2 sides beside the hypotenuse. The legs have to be the same side as they would be if I was graphing it. So if I go this way on the x-axis, the x is negative. So that means this value has to be negative. And since I have to go down, the y value would be negative, so the 3 has to be negative. Is anybody confused on why these are both negative? So up here, the y would be positive, the x would still be negative. Here the x would be positive, y positive, y negative. So you got to go just depending on what quadrant it's in. So now it's just a matter of, can you remember the SOHCAHTOA for the sine and tangent? So sine theta, sine is what? Opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite side is -3 over hypotenuse, which is 5. Then the tangent is what? Opposite over adjacent. The opposite is -3 and the adjacent -4. So it's -3 over -4, which will be what? Positive 3 over 4. Because it's negative over a negative makes that a positive. So is anybody confused on where I got these 2 values from? Then all you have to do for the other ones is flip them. So the secant theta goes with which? Goes with cosine. Now when we flip it, the reciprocal doesn't change it from negative to positive or from positive to negative. It's still going to be negative, but it's going to be 5 over 4. So it's still going to be negative 5 over 4. Cosecant goes with which one? Sine, so it's going to be negative 5 over 3. And then the cotangent is going to be 4, if I can write a 4. 4 over 3. So are there any questions on, so just so this is on, do what? So like this problem, there's going to be two problems on the test like this problem. There's going to be one problem on the test like this problem. And there's going to be two problems on the test like this problem. So this problem, what this problem is really it asks you to find the exact value. All right. Anytime we're going backwards, there's an inverse tangent or an arc tangent or arc cosine, whatever it says. If it's inverse at all, right, this could very easily could say arc tangent of root 3. It could say that as well as it could the other thing. Tangent inverse tangent. They mean the same thing. Just like I don't know if you remember from geometry doing the inverse trig functions or not. What you would do is you would do like law of sine or law of cosines and go backwards to find the angle of a triangle using the sides. Right? That's all this is doing. Anytime we're going backwards, it gives us the value and we need to find the angle. So we need, what we're really wanting to know is what angle gives me a tangent. That's what we really want. What angle gives me a tangent of the square root of 3? That's what we want to know. First of all, we've got to figure out what angle gives me a tangent of the square root of 3. Now, there's going to be two problems like this. So if it was sine or cosine, you could just look. You could know what angle by the x and y. Tangents are not on the unit circle, but we know tangents what? Sine over cosine or y over x. Alright, so either way. So we need to figure out what angle is going to give me a square root of 3. Alright, if I look at a 45 degree angle, the points are root 2 over 2 and root 2 over 2. If I put them over each other, that's just going to give me 1. Alright, so it's not a 45 degree angle, so it's got to be one of the other two. So let's try 1/2 over root 3 over 2. Alright? 1/2 over root 3 over 2. So if I do the ear there, I get 1 times 2 on top and then 2 times root 3, which gives me 1 over root 3. Is that what I'm looking for? No. So it's not. This was, what kind of angle did I use here? Which angle did I use? I used which one? What's the y value for 60? Root of 3. This is 30 degree angle. Because the x is root 3. The way I remember which one's which, 30 degree angle, root 3 comes, 30 degrees root 3 comes first. Alright, 60 degree angle, 1/2 comes first. And then, so the other one has to come second. That's just how I remember it. 30's a 3, 0 when I'm writing 30 out. When I'm writing out the ordered pair for 30 degrees, the root 3 comes first. That's how I remember it. Alright, then, this will be, so I know it's not a 30, I know it's not a 45 degree, so it has to be a 60 degree angle. Alright. So I need to, 60 degree gives me a positive tangent because it's positive over positive. What other quadrant would give me a positive tangent? The only other thing that gives me a positive would be a negative over a negative. So you would need 60 degree angle in quadrant 4, which is 300 degrees. So these are the two angles. Look, I need it to be a positive tangent. Negative over negative. That's what. I'm sorry, you're right. The wrong one. What is it going to be? 240. Sorry. It's quadrant 3, not quadrant 4. In 240 degrees. There we go.